My family were neither humbugs nor shining beacons of holiday cheer. It was a holiday with some food and some presents. Many others in the lower echelons of society can relate to witnessing the desperate and stress-inducing scramble of frantic parents. It's not always possible to give your children the things they want when you're scraping by providing the things they need. At 10 years old, I didn't understand the concept wholeheartedly, but the cracks were more noticeable each year. Everyone had time off work and were happy this time of year. The songs, the movies and shows all told us so. But time off work for my father was without pay, and each year, he would swear to my mother, as she budgeted for the coming weeks, he'd try harder to find another job, a permanent position or something in a different industry allowing him to work over Christmas. Missing a week's pay during the most expensive time of the year was a real nail-biter. This is why I was surprised to come home from school and find an elf sitting on my shelf. Its tattered red felt hat and clothing had faded some, but were still secure and attached. Its white gloves were stained a dull brown, and the blue paint around its pupils had peeled away, leaving beady black eyes in its place. The saving grace ensuring it had not turned from cute to creepy was the bright-coloured rosy cheeks and brown curl sitting under its pointed hat. When I asked my mother, she said she had found it in a thrift shop and thought of me. I didn't know it at the time, but really, it was a commemorative effort marking the last of my magic-filled holidays. A small item added in the hope it would accrue some semblance of sentimental value to look back on in years to come. Unfortunately, it would be the furthest thing from sentimental. I didn't give it any thought before I fell asleep. No magical thunderstorms or Christmas wish. I was just awoken by a cold breeze drifting through the window and the smell of tobacco dancing around my nostrils. A glowing ember pulsated from the shelf, floating left to right before coming to a stop. The brief pause in movement did little to break my transfixed state. The ember resumed movement, making its way down the shelf and to the floor. It moved closer toward my bed, until the soft glow of moonlight illuminating my side of the room revealed its figure. The shadow of a pointed hat, followed by black beady eyes and rosy cheeks. Raising a cigarette to its lips, it inhaled, and the cherry ember burned brighter. A grey haze followed the audible exhale, and the cigarette dropped. The pitter-patter of small wooden feet approached in quick succession. Before I could muster a scream, two wooden hands held either side of my cheeks.
Feeling jolly?
A tear ran down my cheek. I nodded yes. The tone of his voice told me it would be the correct answer.
Good. I can't help you if you ain't feeling jolly.
It paused, studying my face before speaking again.
What's your name, kid?
Philip.
Philip. You're just the kid Santa asked me to see.
Santa's not real. My voice squeaked. Part of me believed what I was saying was true, but the other hoped it wasn't.
It's worse than I thought. You've lost your Christmas spirit.
The kids at my school. A hard thud hit the side of my face, rattling my teeth.
You idiot. Do you think they'd believe I was real?
The elf nodded disapprovingly as I rubbed my cheek.
That pain was real, right?
I guess, I replied, tears welling in my eyes.
Listen, Philip. Not only are you in danger, but so is Christmas. Santa needs your help.
The elf turned its back to me and faced the window.
But if Santa was wrong about you, I'll go tell him.
No, I believe you, I said desperately, trying not to disappoint a person I wasn't even sure existed.
Are you sure you can help?
The elf said, turning back toward me.
Because if you aren't willing to do everything I ask, I'll need to find another kid who will.
No, I'll do it.
I should have never doubted Santa when he said you were a good boy.
The elf replied, Its rosy red cheeks seemed to brighten on the wood they'd been painted on.
It's your parents, Philip. They want to kill you and then Santa.
What? No.
I hate to be the one to tell you, Phil, but you're a burden. You've heard them fight over money? I know you have. Desperation leads to regret. You're their regret, Phil. They've been trying to do it for years, but your faith in Santa has allowed him to protect you. But he can't anymore, Phil. You're getting too old.
I can't.
You can. Santa chose you to save Christmas. Slit their throats, Phil.
I couldn't hold back the warm stream of tears now flowing as the knot in my stomach tightened.
Look into these peepers, child.
The darkness behind its eyes was deep enough to drown in.
Slit their throats and save Christmas.
The darkness of its pupils swallowed me. Slit their throats and save Christmas echoed in my mind 1,000 times in a single moment. The pressure in my stomach alleviated and gave way to a comforting warmth.
Live with Santa. Live forever.
Its wooden frame scaled my pajamas and rested by my shoulder, ready to guide me back to the kitchen. Each step was taken with caution to avoid the squeaks and moans of the old wooden floorboard. The elf pointed at the knife block and whispered an order.
The sharpest, the biggest. Make it quick.
After selecting the biggest and sharpest knife I could find, the elf ordered me to my parents' room. With a slow and controlled push, I avoided the squeak of their bedroom door and approached. In the depth of my mind, I knew it was wrong, but there was a hold over me I couldn't control.
Daddy first. Slit it quick for Santa. Don't hesitate.
All I could focus on during my approach was the red glowing digits of the alarm clock sitting on my father's bedside table. 3:23 a.m. Muffled snoring broke the silence in the room. My father was on his back, face buried in a pillow. The elf jumped from my shoulder and to the bed's backboard, beckoning me closer. The elf raised its wooden hand and gestured for me to slit my father's throat.
Save Christmas. Save Santa. Save yourself.
My hands tightened around the knife, and the elf dropped down on my father's back, pulling his hair back and revealing his neck. A yelp of surprise came from my father. For Christmas, for Santa, I whispered, bringing the knife to his neck and sliding it across. My father screamed as blood gushed out.
Have a holly jolly Christmas.
The elf screamed, erupting in laughter.
Good boy, Phil.
My father rolled over in a confused and terrified state, the blood staining his white bed tee dark red. A scream ruptured my eardrums, and I looked up with ringing ears. My mother had awoken in a pool of blood. I felt nothing but warmth and belonging as I walked to the other side of the bed, raising my bloodied knife in the air.
You better watch out.
The elf sang through maniacal laughter as it dived and clutched her hair. My mother screamed as she attempted to bat away the wooden figure, ripping and tearing at her hair.
You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why.
Phil, no! My mother screamed, edging away from me and into the pool of blood on the side my father had just been sleeping.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
I recognized the fear in her eyes, but felt nothing as I brought down the knife. It missed her by an inch as she rolled away and to her feet. Lifting one knee on top of the bed, I followed before my throat exploded with pain. My father's hand closed around my throat and lifted me off the bed before slamming me to the ground. I struggled to swing my knife, but his knees crushed my wrists and restrained my movement. Warm blood flowed from my father's neck, dripping down onto my face, mouth, and eyes.
Uh-oh.
The elf wailed as it flew across the room, my mother's hair still in its grasp. It hit the floor and went limp.
You fucked up, kid. Christmas is ruined.
Its faint voice echoed into nothingness. Yellow light banished the darkness, and from the bedroom mirror, I saw something terrifying. A figure stood over the elf in the reflection. A dark robe covered the top half of its face, leaving only the lower half exposed. There was no skin or lips, just long needle-like teeth gnashing and salivating in excitement. Three-fingered claws stretched out of the deep cloak's armholes and gently grazed my father's neck. My father didn't react to the touch and continued squeezing my neck. As things started to go dark, I watched the robed creature bring the claw toward its mouth. Sucking the blood off it, it let out a disappointed sigh, and in an instant, the warm feeling of comfort and belonging left me. Fear and desperation came flooding in as reality hit me.
Maybe next year.
It sighed, before my vision dimmed and I lost consciousness. I don't know what my parents told the emergency room. The cut wasn't deep enough to hit any of my father's arteries. They had seen and heard the elf. It was for this reason I hadn't been locked away or sent to a medical institution. They burned the elf, before the endless questioning started. My answers didn't ease any curiosities, and served only to fuel further terror. There were no presents that year. My only gift was the end of my innocence, and a lifetime of anxiety and fear.